So here it is, the Galaxy Z Fold 4 after about 2 days, 48 hours of usage, and I am quite impressed. I know there are some people out there who are underwhelmed by this device, and I think it doesn't take into account the total package that this device puts together. And having really loved my Fold 2, I can appreciate the upgrades here. I'm going to reference the Fold 2 a couple of times because I think really that's the sweet spot for upgrading to a Fold 4. If you have a Fold 3, even though I think the dimensions changing is a big deal, which we'll talk about, but they're kind of performance enhancements. You're getting most of the look of the Fold 4, so that might not be as enticing unless there was a great trade-in deal for you. But upgrading from the Fold 2, I think, is definitely a great option. We're going to have a direct comparison, Fold 2 to Fold 4 video, but just for the sake of conversation here, I'm going to reference the Fold 2 a couple times. Mainly we're talking about the feel of the device, and this is best shown rather than talked about. I don't know if I could, let's see if I could do it this way. Put them lined up and show you the difference in devices. In pictures, it doesn't show up that much, but you could see the difference there in height and then again in the width, and it sounds small. I understand that. It doesn't sound like a big difference. You're talking 2 or 3 millimeters of difference, but when you talk about the feel in the hand of the device and the usability of the front display, it makes a gigantic difference. And one of the small things that I wanted to talk about in a difference between the Fold 2 and the Fold 4 is see how even the outer display with the size it is, see how it kind of tapers there? There's kind of that slight curve to the edge, which makes it even less, feels a little less usable than that. They've gone with a flat display here. They've gone with a flat edge on the Fold 4, and I think that was something on the Fold 3 as well, but that does make it feel like that space is a little bit more usable as well, so it even adds to the feel of the device. The other thing is holding it in your hand. When I was trying to do one-handed stuff on the Fold 2, because of the way that the keyboard being narrow, you felt like your hand was down here a lot. You had to really reach down with your thumb, and it resulted in, if I could twist my hand, holding the device like this. So with the camera hump, it seemed like the center of gravity and the weight of the device was still up, so where it could tip over. I didn't feel confident doing stuff one-handed on my Fold 2 is basically what it comes down to. But because this device is a little squatter, a little bit wider, I feel comfortable typing like this because of the extra space on the keyboard. And look at where my hand is. All the way up. And if I hold it, kind of closer together, I'm at least halfway, 60% up to the top of the device. And that creates a much more secure feel in the hand and a much better experience using the outer display. So I know it seems like a small improvement, but it actually is a huge improvement. The Hinge I love. I love the old one. I had no problem with the old one, but the old one had kind of an industrial feel to it on the Fold 2, where you're like almost cracking it open. But once you did that, it was a nice smooth experience. This one is smooth from the start, but then you get to the actuation point about here, and those, I'm going to call them cams because that's the best way I can describe it, kind of that camming action of those 2 pins that they have in there that kind of, you could feel them lock into place and how secure that is, and I really like that feeling. It's really strong, it's sturdy, it's a lot, it's to me, it's sturdier than the feel on the Fold 2, and it leads to a very satisfying experience when you split it up. But the crease is the crease. It's still there. Is it less prominent than it was on the Fold 2? Yeah, it is, so they've done a better job with that. But once you start viewing content, it really kind of goes away and you don't notice it as much as you would otherwise. But overall, I really like the changes that they've made. The feel in the hand is exponentially better. I like the way that hinge feels nice and secure when you get that locking action in there that they've added. I think overall it's quite nice. The other big, huge difference to me that makes this a lot different, if you go back and watch my old Fold 2 videos, I used to say, you know what, it's not for me in the terms of multitasking. It's if you want to do stuff on your device, you just want to use it on a larger display, then get the Fold 2, but it wasn't something that I felt the need to multitask on. But because of the kind of new layout of this device and Android 12L, which I believe is what it's running because it added the dock, you get stuff like the dock. So you go ahead and pull this up. You got Twitter up here, but then I could easily see at the bottom, switch between Twitter and Instagram. No issue, right? And it's nice and cool to switch back and forth between the two, and it's super smooth and it works well. And let's say now I want to multitask. Instead of having to swipe up, go into another app, swipe across, have set up different pairs, none of that stuff. If it's down here and I use it often, I go ahead, I drag it. Where do I want it? Over here, down the bottom, over on the side. There's one that was even in the middle. I could choose where I want my Outlook inbox and just get it done. And that actually leads to me using the display more. This is a big deal. The dock isn't something you might think it's a gimmick. No, being able to switch between apps, being able to multitask, being able to just get a different experience, a differentiating experience. This is no longer just a big phone. It's something that is going to be more like a tablet experience on the inside. And to me, that's important because you're spending a lot of money on this. There are a lot of devices. They'll do the job of a regular smartphone cheaper. And you wouldn't have, unless you're really a huge fan of the bigger display, you wouldn't really have a reason to go to this. Now there's a reason to look at the Fold on its own for the features and kind of the things that it can do in multitask mode with Android 12L, and it runs great. You wouldn't really buy this for any performance upgrades over something like a Fold 2 or certainly not a Fold 3, because those chips are still running phenomenally well. No issues there. They're going to be powerful for years to come. I didn't see a huge difference on the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, whatever they're calling it, between generations, but we'll talk about the one big improvement that they made in a moment. Plus, you have the S Pen functionality with that case that a lot of people got with it for free. I haven't really used it yet. I don't buy this to use the pen, but if you needed to, because of the extra abilities here, you can kind of multitask, use the pen at the same time. You're getting a portable tablet experience where you really weren't before on the Fold devices. Battery life, 6 hours plus. That's it. Samsung. Snapdragon, Qualcomm finally understood what was going on. They finally said, well, hold on now. We're going to lose all these contracts. We're going to lose these phones if we can't improve battery efficiency with the power that we use on the chip. They were plenty powerful. And this is just as powerful. You're not losing anything in terms of horsepower, but you are gaining that efficiency, that new process that they're using, and whatever the place that they're making the chips now, whatever changed, I think it was some TSMC, whatever it happens to be, okay? It works. That's all I know. It was in need of a change, it changed, and it works. So this is still have time to learn, but to get 6+ hours on this device absolutely changes your experience. This goes from something that you think about as a main device. If you're doing a lot of stuff, maybe it's not the best idea. This is now a set it and forget it if you're comfortable with the larger display, if you're comfortable carrying around a Fold. Between the battery life and the design changes that make it more balanced one-handed, and that, you look at people talking about those Vivo devices and the Xiaomi Mi Mix, whatever, 2 that have the usable outer displays. That's kind of the selling point. You could use them one-handed like a slab phone, and then but when you had a chance, when you were sitting down, when you were out of danger or harm's way, and you wanted extra screen real estate to get more done, you got it. This, I understand, it's not the screen size that those other devices are, but it is a lot closer, and it kind of is in that spirit where I feel absolutely comfortable. I did a lot of it yesterday, texting people back, scrolling one-handed, no issues whatsoever, and it was a pleasurable experience. It just feels like a narrow phone, as opposed to before, where it was a really narrow phone, and it was kind of getting in the way. I love the changes. I love that it's a little bit smaller. I love the changes to the inner display. I love the taskbar. Really good stuff between the efficiency, the performance, overall great. In the full review, we're going to test cameras and all the rest of it, but my first impressions are, and if you're watching this today, okay, August 25th, you could still use the link in the description and get the pre-order bonuses, even though the phone is out. You could go ahead and get the pre-order bonuses and trade in your Fold 2 for that extra amount of money, which I absolutely, the short answer is you should do that. It's worth the upgrade if you could get it, if you were on that upgrade cycle anyway. You're not going to be doing it for performance. You're going to be doing it for the small changes that they made that add up to a drastically different experience on the device. And this is just a pleasant device to use. You don't have to worry about battery life. You could get some extra functionality that you just can't get with a slab phone. And that was the argument that a lot of people had. It's like, oh, geez, I'm paying $1,800 for stuff that I could basically just get on a regular phone. They've changed the experience enough and added to it and used that screen real estate in order to give you more. I liken it on kind of iPad OS. On iPad was just using big iOS apps, big iPhone apps, and until they finally said, okay, hold on, we need to give people a different experience to upgrade to an iPad Pro. They came out with iPad OS. They're starting to add some different apps to it to give you some functionality there that you can't just get on a phone. Same here. And I really, really, really like the changes. I think if you're a Fold fan, if you're comfortable, it's maybe your first time to jump in, it's the best time ever. Secure a Hinge, It's got that IP, it's got the different. It's not dust proof, but it's got the IP or whatever rating on here. This is the time to jump in if you've been curious about a fold, because it's the closest you can get to both a regular phone experience, but also open it up and get the functionality of that portable tablet. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.